Welcome to Voices in Health and Wellness. This is the show where we sit down with leaders and innovators shaping the future of care. In each episode, we explore how practitioners, entrepreneurs, and industry experts are adapting to the rapidly evolving expectations of patients and what it really takes to deliver exceptional experiences in today's health landscape. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Eli Anyadi, the practice administrator of Metropolitan Cardiovascular Consultants. Eli brings a rare combination of business acumen and deep operational expertise in specialty care, leading a team dedicated to delivering high-touch, patient-centered cardiovascular services. So Eli, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, or morning where you are, I should say.
Yes, thank you for having me, Dr. Greenland. It's a pleasure.
So perhaps we could start at the top. Could you share a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture at Metropolitan Cardiovascular?
Yes, so a little bit about myself. So I'm the practice manager for Metropolitan Cardiovascular Consultants. I've been with the practice for about 4 years. I'm basically, I touch on every little thing with regards to the practice when it comes to operations, when it comes to human resource, marketing, inventory, as well as compliance and risk management. So I have my hands on a bit of everything to get the practice going. And as it relates to today, so the practice has been running for well over 30 years. And I joined the practice, like I said, I've been with them for about 4 years. I joined the practice back in, I believe that was 2019. And so, so there's a lot that has gone on with the practice and how, and healthcare is evolving a lot, not only in its operations, but also in terms of its approach as well. And so we as a practice are trying to adapt to the different changes, so that we can attract a lot more patients and deliver a level of care that is really good and can be something to talk about. Yeah.
Amazing. As this is a global podcast, can you give us some sense of how big the operation is at Metropolitan Cardiovascular? How many clinicians do you have and staff and that kind of stuff, just so people can get some sense of your size of your operation?
Yes, so we are a medical group. Metropolitan Cardiovascular is the specialist component, so that's purely cardiology. We have a cardiologist who is the owner of the medical group as well. We have 2 locations, and if anyone knows anything about the Maryland area, so that would be in Beltsville and in Columbia as well. We do have as part of the medical group, we have 2 primary care offices as well. And we have 2 nurse practitioners who man those offices and take care of our patients as it stands.
Got it. So what does a typical day look like for you, if there is such thing in the kind of work that you do? Because I know you have your hand on many, many pulses, but no pun intended, what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so a typical day, it really depends on the day, because there are a number of things that we do in our practice. We run a couple of tests on certain days, and on certain days I solely cater to administrative work. But on average, when I come in on a Monday morning, the first thing I'm looking at is the schedule to make sure everyone is in line, making sure that we don't have a crazy schedule that throws patients off. And then I meet with my team, speak about what needs to be, if there's a need for any changes or any corrections throughout the day. I'm just behind the scenes, pacing from the front desk to the back, making sure that everything that we trying to achieve for that day is done.
Amazing. I know you have a particular interest in the patient experience, and what sort of inspired you to blend advanced cardiovascular care with such a strong focus on patient experience?
Yes, we are very focused on patient experience. I think that's very, very important. I think for any good practice, what my task is to make sure that my physicians or the doctors I manage have an environment where they can thrive and do what they need to do, where they're solely focused on the clinical and don't have to worry so much about administrative work, because I feel like that translates to how well they cater for the patients we have. And of course, if patients feel like you care about them and you're giving them the care and the need, the care and the attention that they need, they'll definitely be coming back. And for practice, that's very, very important for us to thrive and to continue to give the care that we sought to give.
Brilliant. So speaking about patient expectations, what shifts have you noticed in your role over the last few years? Have there been any kind of major changes?
Yeah, yes, there has. It would surprise you to know, Dr. Greenland, we as cardiologists, as a cardiology practice, of course, yes, a large number of our patient population cater to older folks, but we are seeing a lot of young people come in, to a surprise. And so one of the things that we have decided to do is especially with our operations and the way we cater to patients, is to be a little more modernized in our approach. So we've introduced a lot of different AI tools to kind of get our operations seamless in that process, and also to attract the outside of the older population, to also attract younger people to see the need for running coming into seeing a cardiologist and running the tests that they need to run. I'm also catered to preventive care, things like your blood pressure, the silent killers, I call them. Things like your blood pressure, if there's a blockage in your heart and chest pain. These things are easily ignored, but unfortunately it's happened so often amongst young people. And we want to be able to create an environment where people can come in and know what's really going on with themselves, instead of having to to push those symptoms away and hope that everything will just work out fine.
Got it. And specifically millennials, what are they doing to the way that change the way you approach care in your practice?
Yes, with regards to millennials, now the thing about millennials is that, and I'm thinking back to a patient we recently had not so long ago. So one of the things that we have tried to do differently is so one of the tools we employed was a company we call Frazier. So what they do is they give patients the opportunity to do pre-check-ins before they come into the office, so that we can reduce the wait times. I feel like millennials don't have the patience to wait in a doctor's office for too long. And so one of the ways we've tried to curb that, or take that away, or reduce the patient wait time, is to introduce pre-check-ins, which have been effective in our approach to millennials. Another thing I believe that another way I think millennials have changed the way we do things is also our online presence. Millennials are finding a lot of things online, especially social media, TikTok and Instagram. And so we want to be able to create an online presence where we have patients who can not only being educated, or we want to be able to create some kind of trust with our physicians, so that if there's any need for medical attention, we would be the ones they would recommend or want to be a part of. It will surprise you, Dr. Greenland. Even when I first had my first child, my daughter, I found myself going back on the internet, always researching, looking for other ways to try. And she had a cough or she had a cold, and surprisingly, any information I found, I referred it back to our pediatrician and asked if this was okay. But this is what's happening a lot of the time. Social media is informing a lot of our millennials with regards to healthcare, and so you want to be able to take advantage of that and create a presence where people can trust you and the information you give. So if our physician says, hey, for this condition you need to see a doctor, then they listen. But outside of that, they'll rather not come in at all. And so that's one way millennials are affecting the way we approach our healthcare.
Amazing. So you've talked about pre-check-ins, you've talked about some AI tools. Are the AI tools to help your practice be more efficient? Or is there anything there that kind of specifically benefits the patients that are interfacing with you?
Yes. So yes, it's to make the patients more efficient. So like I directly say before, it's the AI tool that helps us do the pre-check-in significantly cuts down patient wait times. Another tool we have employed is this is with Quadrant Healthcare. This is with our phone calls. We want every phone call that comes through our office. We don't want to miss any phone calls, and so they have an interactive face with an AI persona, and this AI persona takes all the information they need. They are able to schedule appointments even without talking to anyone at the front desk, and so in real time they are able to make all these changes without having to wait longer than they should, and so that really helps us as well as a practice.
Interesting. And what sort of feedback do your patients give you? I mean, are you meeting their needs with the various things that you put into place, or they have other things that they're also demanding of you going into the future?
So the feedback has been great, honestly. I feel like with millennials, another thing I didn't mention was this transparency. They want to be able to know what they're getting into, all of the information before they even step into the doctor's office. And so that's part of the tools that we have created, especially with our online presence, is to put out there exactly what we are really good at, why you should be in the doctor's office, and things like that. That helps to inform patients and their decision to come to see, or come to your practice or to come to your office. Also because they feel like the more you speak about a topic, you might have some command or you might have some, for lack of a better word, you might have some authority over that particular topic, and so they're more likely to come to your office. But yes, to answer your question, we have had great success with our approach. We've seen patient wait times reduce, and we've also seen that patients are a little more relaxed when they come into the office. They are not as nervous or they are not as cringe, if I should say, to see a doctor, because they already know what to expect. They already know what to walk into because of the online presence we create.
Brilliant. I mean, do you know what your sort of competition is doing? Is this the things that you offer something that draws patients towards your practice specifically, or is everybody in your niche trying to kind of do similar things?
So it is. I would say this though. It's not. I didn't totally believe that every practice is doing the same things we're doing. I think that and Dr. Greenland, I'll tell you. So it also really depends on the physicians you have. I know a lot of practices have been in existence way before ours, but it takes a lot of adoption to get into all these AI tools, and especially when you have a physician that has done the traditional way for so long. So, for example, we also have a scribing AI tool we use that helps our physicians, write out their notes. It also suggests ICD codes for every diagnosis, and by the time they're done with the patient, their notes are ready for billing. But unfortunately, before all of this even happened, physicians had to take their code books, look at trace which diagnosis goes with what, and I feel like if you don't have a practice that is physicians that are willing to adapt to this new change, that can be very challenging. And fortunately, that's the story of many other practices, especially in cardiology. Cardiology has always catered to older people, and so you have physicians who have been in practice for so long but are not willing to adapt to the change. But we are doing that differently. We want to be able to. We have seen that a lot of young people, especially with preventive care, a lot of young people are having things like high blood pressure, a lot of young people are going around with pain, chest pains, and are just ignoring it and not realizing how important it is for them to have that checked out. And so we want to attract those people to our practice, not just the ones who are older and are obviously going through, obvious symptoms like shortness of breath and things like that. So that's how different we are, in a nutshell.
Amazing. And do you think this, presumably this benefits all patients, not just millennials? And you finding that, patients of all age groups are appreciating the additional things that you're putting into place to make their experience better? Or is it more these people who are time pressured, haven't got time to sit in waiting rooms and all this kind of thing that are really noticing?
I would say it was a challenge initially, especially coming back to the pre-check-in, because a lot of our older patients don't have or are not tech savvy. And so getting all, so typically what will happen is they'll get a link and a text, and that text has a link that sends them directly to the platform for them to answer a few questions, and then they get checked in. But I can tell you a large population of older people don't even have mobile phones to even receive those texts. It either comes from a guardian or a caretaker or a child who's older and tech savvy enough to navigate our platforms. And so initially it was difficult. You would still have patients come in and still want to do everything through paperwork, and yes, and so that was the challenge we initially faced. But with time, I'm clearly seeing that everyone is adjusting to the way things are done. One of the things we also do is we have days where we just solely cater to telehealth appointments, and so patients don't have to come into the office. If they are just following up for test results, they can do a telehealth appointment with us. And I can tell you, patients would rather see the doctor's face and hear him speak directly than over a video call. And so all of these changes come with its challenges and trying to convince patients. But it's a slow adoption, but I think that it's definitely made on our end, it's definitely made our operations very seamless. And I think that a lot of millennials appreciate that they are still able to they don't have to cancel a day's they don't have to cancel a day at work to get the appointments taken care of. They can take a lunch break and do a telehealth appointment and still be at work. And so yes, it favors some groups and it doesn't favor the others, but we still are open to patients coming into the office. We haven't totally taken that out of the picture. And so I guess we're just trying to find a fine balance as we slowly introduce all these AI tools.
Really interesting. So you paint a very interesting dichotomy of, we all think, technological shifts are helping all of our patients, but like you said, the ones that aren't tech savvy, that don't have the kit or the phones, they could very easily get excluded in this massive technological advance. And really interesting you point that out, and you can still cater for both and keep both groups happy. That's really, really interesting to learn. Is there anything else that's been frustrating or challenging? And obviously you've just been talking about that side of things, but is there anything else frustrating or challenging in the work that you do?
Well, a lot of, like I said, my main focus and my main aim as a practice administrative manager is to make sure that all of my clinicians, right from the MAs to the physicians, and are solely focused on their clinical work. And so when I come up with new ideas to try and make their work seamless, it's always, especially with the older physicians, it's always a slow adoption. So that in itself is a challenge. I'm always thinking, as a millennial myself, I'm always thinking of new ways to do old things. And so I'm slowly weaving off the traditional ways we cater to our patients into new ways of doing them. And so and also, of course, in the new ways of doing them, that generates new revenue for the practice. But the only major challenge, I would say, is the adoptions to these new technologies and new processes as well. So it has always been that early adoption, but it's a work in progress. We can't say it's gonna just everyone is gonna automatically embrace it, but I would say that with time, as the world in itself is changing as well, so our hands are tied anyway.
Actually, interesting. So we talk about some of the resistance from perhaps older patients, but do you have any kickback from your colleagues, your medical colleagues, with anything technological, or are they do they embrace these sort of changes and tools that you're bringing in?
We've had some kickbacks. We've had some kickbacks only because the one thing that we see, we hear physicians repeatedly say is that we prefer to do things the old way. We prefer to do the things the way we know them to be, and so even it's also because even with medicine in itself and the way they were trained in the practice, they don't do as much billing and they don't do as much and the thing is this is a private practice. If you're in a hospital, you have departments that are solely catered to a lot of these things. But in a private practice, you are sort of forced to do every other thing. And especially as a physician, you have to make sure your notes are completed. You're using the right ICD codes so that and prepare them for billing as well. But if you're in a bigger setting, you might have other people doing that work for you. And so in my work of space, working in private practice, physicians are not just focused on completing the notes, but they're doing other things to make sure that revenue comes into the practice. And I feel like that's where all these new technologies come in. And so they have to adjust. Apart from focus the care they give to patients, they also have to think outside the box and do things outside of their norm. To make sure that things are properly taken care of.
Interesting. And do they embrace that challenge, or are they solely focused on the clinical and find these things sort of extras that they're just having to do?
They embrace the challenge. I can say that for sure, because the way I sell it to them is, if you are able to get your notes done within a day or within a few minutes with an AI scriber, you don't have to take work back home. You have a perfect work balance, because we're finding that a lot of physicians will see, all their patients and then make little notes and then take work back home to complete those notes. And I don't think that's a good efficient use of their time, as busy as they are. And so they like the idea that I can get all of this done in a day and I don't have to worry about going back home and completing notes, and maybe trying to remember the things that the interactions that I had with my patients. So in real time, they're able to do the work they need to do, and so they have a good work balance for themselves as well.
Got it. Well, in terms of your management capacity, you must have some particular metrics that you track to sort of get some sense of your practice and how it's performing. What are the things that you most focus on? And is there anything in particular that you're most focused on and trying to improve?
Yes. So regards to metrics, so on my end, every Friday I generate reports that I typically look at. One of them is what I call open encounters. I have to make sure that every visit or every doctor's visit that was made those patients have been checked out. Because we are private practice, we are largely dependent on our patients returning back. So we want to make sure that patients, and also because of the quality of care we want to give to our patients, I have to make sure that all of our patients have been checked out. They've been given their follow-up appointments, and also the tests that they need to get done have already been scheduled. We don't want patients falling through the cracks in regards to their care and also in regards to the follow-up they need with the doctors. And so that's the first thing I make sure to check. And so that helps us give patients the quality care that they need, and also it helps patients. And also we are able to properly monitor how well they're doing and make sure that they're getting the care that they need. The other thing, so there are different facets of it. So the other thing to it is billing as well. Like I said before, making sure that the doctors are using the right codes, ICD codes. I meet with my billing team as well, which we outsource. And what they do for me is they share with me all the claims that have been denied, and why they have been denied. And what I do is to gather all that information, go back and see if is this because we are not putting in the insurances the right way? Is this because we are not using the right codes? Is this because the doctor's notes are not sufficient enough to warrant a payment from the insurance companies? And so to add to that, there's a wide range of things I am looking at, but these are the two main things that I am focused on. How we're caring for our patients with regards to if they're getting the right appointments, and how we are billing as well with regards to revenue that's coming to the office.
Interesting. So I've had many conversations with North American practices, and billing seems to be a sort of universal bugbear. Have you found a magic bullet to solve the whole billing headaches that your practice has? Are there particular things that always seem to crop up that you've managed to solve, or is it like everybody else? It's one of these things that everybody has to kind of grind away at, day in, day out. Just asking.
Yeah. So there is a wide range of things that could be done differently, and like you rightly said, in North America, unfortunately, things are always changing. And so you have to be abreast with what's current and what needs to and how you can quickly adapt to those things. But I will tell you that I think one thing that has really helped us is with the use of our scribing, making sure that we have our notes complete and the codes that are properly used for each diagnosis. Because if you use the wrong codes, you can be sure that you're getting back a denial. And so that has been one way we've dealt with billing. And also, I am also really big on what we call eligibility or verifications. You always want to make sure that every patient that walks through that door, they are in network with your insurance company, and they are eligible for the service that they're receiving. Without that, you can be sure the insurance companies are going to be sending back a denial. And so those are ways that we have successfully been able to, at least reduce the number of denied claims we receive to a single digit, instead of having to have so many of them come back because of little things that we could have changed.
Got it. So where do you want to be with Metropolitan Cardiovascular in the next 6 to 12 months? Have you got any sort of short-term things that you're trying to do with the practice?
Yes, 60. Yes. So, and I'd say in about 6 months. So we want to be able to. My focus, to be precise, is to find new revenue streams for the practice, so the practice can grow. We want to be able to expand into different offices, or different locations, I should say. Because especially during COVID, one of the things we found was that a lot of practices did not survive because of the revenue that was coming in. And so pre-COVID, now that we've gone past that phase, we're for any practice to make its mark or to exist, it's really just the revenue that's coming in. And so my focus and my passion has to be able to increase the revenue, and in doing so, that also makes our workflow seamless, and of course our patient care also is not neglected, but it's also focused on in the process. So yes, in the next 6 months, we are looking to grow in as a practice, in a nutshell.
Nice. And are you at capacity? I mean, in terms of it, you talk about growth. I mean, do you need another location to get additional capacity, or the location you have at the moment pretty maxed out?
So yes, the location at the moment is I wouldn't say maxed out. There's always room for improvement. We could always welcome some more patients. But with regards to growth, that would mean also having more physicians on board, because of course the workload for one physician in one of our locations is we don't want to wear and tear our physicians out, and so that they get too tired to be able to cater for our patients. So, but that also means that you have to have revenue coming in, and so when we are able to employ more physicians in the medical group, and then that's when we will see a lot of different locations spring up.
Got it. I was going to ask, if you had a sort of massive increase in referrals in the next 2 or 3 months, what will be the first thing to break? I guess from what you're saying, it's probably fatigue from your physicians in terms of the workload. Would that be right, or would there be other things that would break?
Yeah. So apart from fatigue, let's see, the things that we could break would be, I would say as well, maybe I would say that well, now that I think about it, I think that would be the only thing that would be a real problem if we had a lot more referrals coming in. It would just be the workload on the physicians. But if they have the help that they're receiving, then that should make it a lot easier. And again, that's why a lot of these AI employed tools makes it a lot easier for the physicians to do their work without having to feel stressed out.
Got it. So if you could solve one major challenge today, whether that be in your practice, Metropolitan Cardiovascular, or more widely in this specialty, what would it be?
I would say it would be the wait time. For in cardiology, I don't know how that's like in other specialties, but patients walk in very nervous and anxious because they want to know what's going on with their heart. And I think that a lot of patients have a preconceived notion about, of course, and I think we all do, anything that has to do with the heart can be very complicated. So people don't play around with their visits to their heart doctor. And so we in turn have to create an environment where patients come in and are more comfortable and are comfortable to see the doctor. They have confidence in the tests they are doing and in the information and the results they're receiving as well. So one of the ways we do that is to reduce the wait times that we have. If there's one thing I would really like to work on, would be the wait times. We don't want patients having to come in and be anxious and sit out in the lobby and not know when next the appointment is, when they're going to be seen. And also, when I talk about wait time, I'm not only talking about waiting in the lobby, but I'm also talking about how soon they can come in to get their test results, how soon they can be seen when it's an emergency, how soon our doctors can attend to them. Because I feel like the longer they wait to have to see the doctor, the more the anxiety increases, and that's not a good thing for the patients as well.
I understand. Finally, what do you think the ideal patient experience will look like in 5 years' time? It might just be the one you're trying to create locally in your practice or more widely in the country. What do you think it might look like?
It's definitely changing. And so in my little experience, I think it's going to be very different in the sense that healthcare has become very sensitive and patients have become very sensitive as well. Like I said, a lot of information is out there on the internet and on social media, and this is what's informing a lot of our patients instead of coming directly to a doctor's office. So in the global perspective, I feel like doctors are going to have to move from their decks or even from their practice into creating another in another sense, another practice on their social medias and online to so that the information that patients are looking for are catered to as well in that sense. There might be patients who will never come to doctor's office, but may receive good information that they need whilst they do their research online. And so patient experience will differ. I feel like with the introduction of AI as well, I for one like to be able to see my doctor and have that. There's a certain kind of connection you make seeing your doctor physically, instead of having to do this, for example, over telehealth and things like that. So, but it really depends on the generation. Millennials don't mind doing that, but older folks would want to be able to talk to the doctors, because I've had so many interactions with our patients outside of just what they're coming in for. They talk about their grandkids, they talk about their children, and that's what I fear will be missing in the next few years. That interaction with patients, not just about the medical, but about their whole life. Patients like to express, and you'll find out that a lot of the things that are happening outside in their life is what may be affecting the symptoms they have, or the problems they really have. We have patients who come in who are already heartbroken, and that affects your heart as well. So unfortunately, we are slowly moving from that, and that could be a problem. But to some, that could also be what they need to, in the fast-paced world that we are in now, in this microwave world we are in now. That might be just what they need as well. So it really depends on who is receiving that care.
Got it. Eli, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really fantastic insights, really interesting to hear. I'm sure what you said will really connect with the whole people's perspective on the evolving patient journey. Really interesting to hear about what you do at Metropolitan Cardiovascular, and you'll really have a finger on the pulse of obviously managing a busy practice, but also the patient experience. So thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be on this podcast as well.